Several rumours and various reports have been spread abroad in discourse concerning these strange fish taken in Ireland. We, having a very perfect and faithful account and description thereof, sent us sometime since in a letter from a credible person that was an eyewitness of that monstrous sight, have thought fit for unveiling report from the disguises of fiction and preventing the obtrusion of reader's note. Damage to this work. Imperfect relations only too often in the world to present the same plainly and truly in public view as they think real and deservedly admirable. On the 3rd of October last past, at a place called in the county of reader's note, damage to this work. The west of Ireland, one James Stewart, riding by the seaside as the tide was coming in, perceived at a distance something of a strange bigness to make towards the shore. At first, he apprehended it might be some horse that might have been caught away with the violence of the tide, and having recovered himself was now swimming to land. But approaching nearer on a closer view, he was infinitely surprised and amazed, not so much at the bigness, which yet he found to exceed that of horse, which he first took for in the body, as at the uncouth shape and number of stranger horns of great length, which rendered it not a little terrible to behold, insomuch that he durst not go nearer to it, lest it should destroy both him and his horse. Wherefore, riding on, he went immediately to one Thompson that dwelt hard by on the beach, and acquainted him with the strange adventure beside his aid, and that he would bring ropes and handspikes with him, and what other help he could procure, but there being none at that time at home, but himself and his wife, they could not get any other assistance. However, they too went down with him to the place where the man and his wife were both almost astonished at the sight of this strange monster, and the woman especially so far frightened that she would by no means permit her husband to go near or meddle with it. Yet Stuart, the first discoverer, boldly ventured to ride up pretty near it, and at last to touch it with the rope, and found it made no resistance, but lay stranded on the ground, and wanted water to carry it off. Upon this, Thompson and his wife, seeing it so feasible and inoffensive, grew courageous, came near to assist the other man, and by their joint labor they got ropes so about it as they tumbled it over and were able to hail it further on shore. During all which time it made no resistance, but when they went to lay hold on the horns, they found their own shells, like coronets with teeth within them, which got hold of their hands and their fingers, so that they were glad to let them go. And the night coming on, they were forced on that time to leave it, and they dragged it quite upon dry land. Early next morning they returned with more company, and the noise of this rare accident soon drew together. But at their coming, they find the monster quite dead, and now had time to view, and without wonder, consider its wonderful and prodigious shape, which they found as follows. The length of this sea wonder, horns and all, was full 19 foot, and in bulk or bigness of body, somewhat larger than a horse. It had two heads, the largest of which, joining immediately to the body, had no perfect distinct shape, but like a vast lung, wherein nothing plainly appeared but two eyes, of an oval form, and of extraordinary bigness. This great head carried the horns 10 in number, of which the two longest were situated in the middle, and were smooth. Unlike the other 8, viz. 4 on each side, were all wreathed or crooked, and upon them grew curious shells, as it were, of the bigness of large clock button, but in form and shape like crowns or coronets, two and two together, and over against each other to the number of 100 in all on each horn. On top of every one of these buttons or coronets was the resemblance of a pearl, which was to open and shut as a little mouth, and had within it a row of teeth, so that it should see, beside the mouth of the little head which we shall describe by and by. This monster received nourishment for its body at 800 several places, or to that number or thereabouts. In the crowns on all the 8 horns, the mounds. Besides, it had a natural power to retract or draw in these horns to its head as a snail does, and extend them again at pleasure, that when it was dead, they all stood out there for plainly, some of them being 8 or 10 foot long, and the two longest, which were of equal size, and length 11 foot. Between these two smooth longest horns, and in the middle imperial crowns, wait for the apocalypse beast, and fancied the Pope was led in person, but not known as Lydia in the Sumpter. We dare not profane the text or jest, nor play the fool with thunderbolts. I hope none will be so impertinently vain as to place every strange production of nature to be a count of prodigies, since if we consider how large a share the sea makes of this inferior globe, and that nature is ever active and wonderfully fruitful, we may not irrationally conclude, or at least suspect, the ocean to be inhabited with many several species of creatures as the earth, and that the vast wilderness of waters contains as many monsters and altogether as strange ones as any in the deserts of Africa.